Hello, everybody. I'm Dan Hermes. I'm an AI consultant. How many people heard my last talk on books? Yeah, so a few of you. Okay, that was an easy one for me to do because it was about writing books. This one is about so many things that I have struggled a little bit to figure out how I can explain it or put it into words for you. So let me just start with the fact that I write too many books in too many fields. I make art, I write music, I do way too many things on top of being in the tech industry. And so what I do is I make all this stuff, it collects dust. Maybe I get a performance, maybe I get a show, maybe I get a couple of signings, maybe I get a gallery, maybe there's a publisher, maybe there isn't, and then it kind of goes by the wayside. How many people have like some agents that you've written that go kind of like that? Yeah. Has anyone like written a really cool agent and you run it two or three times and then you move on to the next one? Yeah. No. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, um, so what I decided is that I wanted to work for somebody who was going to help me get all that stuff organized. And so what I did was to build an office with a director who was also an assistant to do exactly that. And so I'm going to try and show you as best I can. It's a bunch of tools, not MCP, but a bunch of tools handwritten. There are no libraries in here. And so I'll do my best to try and lay it out for you. This is Blane. He is he's working on his performance. He's working on his latency. So that aside, I'll work around that. Hello, Blane. And we don't have audio. That's okay. You can see what he's saying. He has a nice, deep, relaxing voice. So the purpose here is for me to have a kind of a JARVIS interface, and struggling a little bit with now moving into streaming because it needs to be fast. But right now, what it is mostly correct, and that's where I wanted to start because I didn't want to be sitting there at a keyboard all day. I wanted to be able to pull this up and have a conversation with it about what I'm doing, and then I wanted to be able to pull this up and have a conversation with it about what I'm doing, no matter where I am and what I'm up to. Now, the difference between this and maybe most of the GPT interfaces that you've seen is that behind this thing is not just some memory that's like, oh yeah, Dan's got a couple of books, or oh yeah, he's got a couple of buddies over at AI Tinkerers who are really cool and smart. This has 20 tables of SQLite database that represents my entire business life and creative life. And so that starts from things that, before we even get into projects, big ideas, goals, directions. Then it moves down into two different areas, projects and campaigns. Projects is what you would think of as a project. It has tasks. The purpose of that is tracking, right? The purpose of the campaigns is kind of an arbitrary term, but I couldn't come up with something else. But underneath of that are workflows, automation. This stuff actually does things. And so there's a part of it whose purpose is tracking, and there's another part of it whose purpose is doing things and then helping to track those things. So now that I've filled it up with my own voice, it's probably struggling now. I'm going to head down into the code because I know that's where everybody likes to be. I'm going to close everything up. So we've got agents, and this is a base agent, and underneath of that, we have Blane. And before I go too deeply in that, here is the Blane app that does what you just saw on my phone and on the screen here. And there are helpers which help out the agents. And those are things like ChatGPT calls. What I'm also moving into is to try and speed this up, other alternatives for models that can be on the machine that can maybe be a little faster and cheaper. But right now it's just, it's super smart, super witty Blane, super slow. And so helpers. Then we move down into orchestrators we're not using yet. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, let me back up to agents. Now, under agents, I'm going to drill right down into prompts. So these are all tools, right? You guys have worked with these yourself. So these are things like send a text, write an email, interface with 10 of those tables, interface with 10 other of those tables. Let's see, I can go through some of them. Oh, look, book layout. This can actually use Book Factory. I haven't wired that all up yet, but Candy Bag is a separate data center that I use to store files. So it can store files locally on the machine, and on the machine, by the way, locally is right now an affordable cloud in Europe. And so that's where Blane is in Europe. And he's using a number of different servers for a number of different purposes, storage, et cetera, whatever is most cost effective and gets the job done. So local file access, and then within here, you can list the prompt files. Now, yesterday, before I came over here, there was all 12 or 15 of these. And guess what? That really slowed the guy down. Never dawned on me before to take some of those out. But I did here for you folks so that he would be a little faster. But typically, there's most of these that are in there. I'm going to have to set it up in a little more of a RAG fashion so that it pops them up there when you need them, so that it's not dragging it down. But going back down through them, he's got a calendar interface. Candy Factory is the campaign side. Project Factory is the project side. Kind of arbitrary names, but we have to have works in progress names. And I was using N8N for a while, but found that I could write my own and be happier with it. So that's what this is. This is essentially a much more involved N8N that you don't have to frick around with a UI. So continuing to drill down, if you have a prompt and your Blane, your GPT then somehow manages to get the tool call right, you then have to have something that's going to field it and do something about it. Prompt just gives the map. And for that, I have adapters. So for every one of these that actually work, there's an adapter here. And so a batch processor will process multiple tool entries. Calendar Man does just what you think, which is Google Calendar. And you will recognize the rest of these. So these are the implementations, but they don't actually do the thing. All they do is call over to the tool, and the tool does the thing. The tools are over here. And you can see some of them are just one file. Calendar Man, just one file, no big deal. Gmail client, no big deal, one file. I'm working with SMS right now. Twilio works beautifully once you go through the week of disaster, pain in the neck to get it verified. But once you get it, Blane can send me texts. Now, the way that's set up right now is texts are going to be scheduled. There's a scheduler in here. I won't go to it, but it's in there. Texts are scheduled to be sent to me 3 times a day. The first one is sort of a status report. It's a morning, very brief 2-sentence text that says, here are your most critical items that you need to be working on today, and here are the things that you need to be most concerned about. Boom. And so he can give me that at any time of the day, either on the screen or in SMS. So the other ones over the course of the day are updates for how that all is going. And so if I haven't done any work at all, it's going to be the exact same update, just more concise. I like to keep these things really brief, like 5 words. It's going to be the exact same one I got in the morning. If, however, I do some of those tasks or some of those workflows on those campaigns, actually the agents do those, then that picture starts to change, and that update is going to change. And so the idea is to start making it like a real office where over the course of the day, when you talk to the people in the office, things have gotten done. Which leads me to another little point, and this is sort of philosophical, it's sort of metaphysical, but I came to the conclusion that most agent and agent conversations and efforts at getting agents to do work, especially when it comes to other people and other agents, are all going to fail unless they take one thing into consideration that we all take for granted, and that is time. If you do not hook agents to a timeline, they will burn out, they will fizzle out, people will forget about them, they will never do their job more than once. Once I got that down, I'm starting to hook all these things together, and they just go in day out, just like an office. They have a cycle. The GPT knows what time it is. It says, hello, good morning, Dan. It knows what's due in the morning. It knows what should be done by the afternoon. It knows what should be done by the end of the day. And if it's not done, tomorrow morning, it will be raising the criticality on that more and more. So this is Candy Mountain. And I can continue. Where am I up for time? Yep. All right. So you guys saw this last week. This is my AI book. Came out about a month ago. Best question gets it. Yeah.
So talk about two sides you're at. Market side and like creative side, is that right?
The automation side.
Automation and
Yeah.
Just talk a bit more about why you have two sides and what they each do and why you organize it that way.
Absolutely. One of them is just Microsoft Project. It just tracks. That's all it does is track and helps you to monitor, helps you keep up on how things are going with whether projects are falling behind, whether you're having issues. The other one, Campaign, falls into a whole realm of what I call workflow templates. So these are templates that allowed me to tell it how to send a press release, what a press release should look like, how to do research on finding publications, finding places to do talks, finding places to who might be interested in some of these things that I make. So there's a research side. There's about 20 workflows, and these are where we get real agency. This is where some of the real magic happens, is that if I can nail those, and that's where where it's N8N. Like, it's not that different than Zapier and N8N, except it's tied into a larger infrastructure. Does that answer your question? Okay. Yes. Yes, sir.
Does Blane has memory of the replacement of day to day? So are you like logging day to day so that Blane knows what the computer or knows you what you want? And if so, what's the context window of that? How long can it go?
I'm going to give an embarrassing and true answer. I have been so focused on getting Blane to understand what a database ID is. And does anyone run into that? Oh my God, it's insane. They don't want to do it. So getting him to connect to those 20 tables that I didn't focus on context at all. And so that's my next thing. I have to give him more than a context of the previous exchange. But right now, he has a memory of everything that I'm doing. So that gives him a leg up. He doesn't need as much of a context because he has a giant database. Yes, who else? One more. Any more? Yes. Yes. Context, no. What it means is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. What it means is that we can press a button and we'll have done 3 weeks of work to get an agent to do something in 4 seconds that would have taken us 2 months. And it's already done, and it needs us to do another 2 weeks of work before we can come back to it again. That is not a sustainable situation. It's a problem. And so people don't really think of it as a problem. I think we think of it as, oh, wow, how fast was that? But then we don't think of, by the end of the day, we're kind of out of sync with the little buggers. That's the answer. Does that answer your question? Okay. Yeah. All right. I think that's it. I'm going to give you the book. Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay.